combat, Lisa Hallett founded the organization Wear Blue, Run to Remember, and shared her story at the 2013 TEDx conference in Tacoma, Washington. Lisa's words inspired me so much that when I ran my third half marathon this past April, I ran in honor of both of my grandfathers who served in World War II, and in honor of all who have served. Wear Blue, Run to Remember by Lisa Hallett. I'm going to tell you a story today that I usually say for close friends. So we're going to have to be fast friends. And it feels good to be here. My story starts with me marrying a very handsome West Point grad, John Hallett. John was this goofy, red-headed water polo player who grew up in my hometown with me. We went to elementary school together. Poor man knew me since I was 5. We've had some awkward years, but together we laughed, we ran, we traveled, organized, and we are blessed with 3 healthy, happy, beautiful children, Jackson, Bryce, and Heidi. They are all wonderful, but clearly, Heidi is my ticket to Hollywood, so keep your eyes open. John was a passionate leader with his tireless work ethic, who cared deeply for both his soldiers and his family. John took company command of an infantry striker unit in November of 2008. The following summer, July 2009, John and his brigade deployed to southern Afghanistan. 3 weeks later, our daughter Heidi was born. And 3 weeks after that, I was ready to attend my first military family meeting. Remember, the boys were at the babysitter and Heidi was at my side, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. I got myself settled at a desk, spread out my papers, put the baby down, when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I looked over, and it was the rear detachment commander, Frankie. Lisa, I need to talk to you. I remember being flip. Yeah, what's up? You need to come with me, and you should bring your son. So I gathered my papers, and I picked up the baby. And I remember following Frankie. And we had to walk through this big grass field. I remember looking at him, asking him, almost demanding, tell me John's okay. Tell me John's okay. And his face was impassive. He took me to a classroom, a battalion classroom. And there were 2 men in green suits waiting for me. The gentleman on the right had a white piece of paper in his hand, the script, and they read it. The Secretary of Defense regrets to inform you that your husband, Captain John Hallett, is believed to have perished in the fires. And I stopped listening. They said believed. No way was this my life. I had a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a baby who my husband had never met. They had to be wrong. But they weren't wrong. John had been killed on August 25, 2009, on his way home from a goodwill mission along with 3 other brave soldiers in a deployment that was soon to claim 41 lives. My world was totally rocked, and I turned to the coping mechanism that I had leaned on throughout John's military career: running. I pounded the pavement in the sorrow for all the love and the dreams I had lost. I pounded the pavement for the fears I now had for the future. I pounded the pavement for the stress of raising 3 children under 3 without the direction and guidance and love from their father. But I wasn't alone in my steps. Fellow military spouse Erin O'Connor was by my side. She brought me dinner when Heidi was born. And 3 weeks later, brought me dinner when John had died. I remember standing in my kitchen when she said, "We're gonna run through this. Whatever you need, I'm right there." And she was. We tackled all of our long runs together that year, and the brigade community on home soil began to join in our steps. Wear Blue, Run to Remember was born. The mission of Wear Blue is to establish a running community that honors both the service and the sacrifice of the American military. Shelley Hightower and these incredible volunteers began to join in our steps, and Wear Blue became a nationally recognized nonprofit. And now, every week, thousands of runners across the world run in blue. Saturday runs are the crux of who we are and what we do. We gather, we circle, we bow our heads. We call the names of the brave men and women who have given their lives and their service to our country. And then we run. We run to heal, to grieve, to cope, to find strength, to give strength, and to celebrate. We run for the fallen, for the fighting, and for the families. But why running? The legacy of death is life. In the face of the service members who have given their all, we are called upon to live with our all. And nowhere is this more apparent than in the steps and the strides of the long run. When you go out for a 20-mile run and you hit mile 13, you're tired, you're sore, and you may be a little bit angry. And that's the point when you want to quit. The problem is that if you quit at mile 13, you're stuck, and you're usually stuck in the middle of nowhere. The same is true in life. When life throws at you heartbreak and challenges and tragedy, we want to quit. We want to stop. The problem is that if we stop, we're stuck in the middle of nowhere. We have to persevere, and we have to let those challenges, that heartbreak, that tragedy, become the catalyst for a dynamic movement and growth forward. Wear Blue is a community that recognizes the inspiration of the past, the strength of right now, and the promise of tomorrow. Wear Blue is a community made up of thousands of incredible stories, and I want to share with you 4 of them. Staff Sergeant John Diaz. John has been in the infantry for about 6 years. He's a soldier's soldier, a great guy and a great family. John runs in honor of his best friend, Sergeant Patrick Williamson, who was killed in Afghanistan in 2009. Before Patrick left, he said, "I'm running the Seattle Rock and Roll Marathon when I get home." Patrick didn't come home. And John ran that race with Patrick's mom every single one of those 26.2 miles. Jessica Alley, one of the leaders in the Wear Blue community, has been a military spouse for 11 years. Jessica runs through the challenges of her husband's current deployment. She also runs in memory of Will, her husband's fallen classmate. Mike Brown. Mike Brown is a man I have a lot of respect for. Mike Brown is the only known Cobra helicopter pilot in Vietnam to survive being shot down by a surface-to-air missile. Mike graduated from West Point in 1966. Mike comes to the runs and runs in honor of his West Point roommate, First Lieutenant Peter Lance, who was killed in Vietnam in 1967. Christy Winnaconte. Christy inspires me. She's an amazing woman, and Christy came to her first Wear Blue run 4 days after her husband Frank had been killed in a helicopter training accident at Joint Base Lewis McChord. I think it's incredible that we had a community that she could walk into who both understood and appreciated her sacrifice. And I'm confident that at the same time she was receiving strength from these men and women, she was giving strength to those facing their own challenges. All the men and women in the Wear Blue community have their own stories, but what they share is an unquenchable desire to heal, survive, thrive. And I think that in the opening circle of remembrance, in the steps of our runs, we are learning to stand on our own, but not be alone. Military families sacrifice a great deal, and sometimes they sacrifice everything. Our gift, our responsibility to these fallen service members is to remember them and remember how profound their gift was to our great nation. Together as a Wear Blue community, we celebrate the lives of these men and women. We respect those still in uniform. We support the military communities waiting back home. And we hold up those left behind. Because honor